Hey, this is Shaquana Scruggs, and this is my story.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Mo, and we are back once again for another segment on the Let's Talk Some More podcast. This segment, we will be discussing pregnancy, miscarriage, infertility, things of that nature. And I do have a very special guest joining me today, so we're just going to go ahead and get into the topic. So, I first want to start off by asking, how many times have you officially been pregnant or tested positive on a pregnancy test?
Full positive was once, but a total of 6 transfers that failed, and I'll tell you more about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people probably think like when you get a at-home pregnancy test that automatically, says you're pregnant or it's positive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it's a lot that goes into it, from HCG levels to actual blood work and things like that. So, what would be your definition of a successful pregnancy?
My successful pregnancy, pretty much making it all the way to through the first trimester.
Okay.
Which is usually considered like the testing time frame, but getting out of the first trimester is really like the actual really success, because once you get a positive, you still have to go through what may happen or may not happen. But after you get out of that first trimester, it's pretty much like your green light, to so to speak.
Okay, so how many years have you been trying to conceive?
I started trying to conceive in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
I got fully diagnosed with infertility 2017. And from there, I went right into fertility treatments.
Okay, so take us through that process of becoming to get pregnant, and then the process of them fully diagnosing you to say, okay, you're infertile. Like, because, for example, most of the time they want you to try like a year or so before you even go test to see if you're infertile. So how was that process for you?
Okay, so I had the OB-GYN that I had been seeing the whole time I was growing up. Don't get, they always say don't get pregnant till after you finish school.
Right.
So I stuck with my OB-GYN all the way until after I graduated. So my very last appointment with him, I pretty much, after did my testing and all that, I pretty much just walked in his office and asked him where was my baby, because I had been trying.
Okay.
The person that I was with, we had been in a long-term relationship, and he thought it was him. It wasn't him. It was me the whole time, but my OB wasn't making any efforts to see what was going on. Mm-hmm. So my last appointment with him, I really flipped out in his office, and I just said, where's my baby? Where's my baby? And all he wanted to do was give me prenatal pills, but was not trying to see why I hadn't got pregnant.
Wow.
So that last appointment with him, I left out and I cried the whole way because I was just so over it. So I started looking around and I found a new OB-GYN. And first, she had all my medical records, which I had to flip on the old OB-GYN. They didn't want to transfer my records. So I had to go up there myself personally and get my records. My new OB-GYN, first thing she asked me was, how long I had been trying. I told her, and she said, has anyone ever checked your tubes? And I was like, well, what could be wrong with my tubes? She was like, it's possible they could be blocked or damaged. And I'm literally like, no. So she sent me to do a HSG testing. And that's pretty much where they go in, fill your fallopian tubes up with dye. Mm-hmm. If the dye flows through, your tubes are open.
Okay.
If the dye doesn't go through, they're closed. So when I was getting the procedure done, as soon as the dye went in, it just stopped. And I had already knew, and they had it up on the screen where you can actually see what was going on.
Okay.
So as soon as they put the dye in, it stopped, and then it just started coming out. So by the time the doctor that was doing the procedure lifted his head up, I was like, you don't have to tell me, I see it. And he was like, okay. So I had that procedure done. It lasted all of 5 or 10 minutes.
Is it painful?
It is.
Okay.
They tell you to take a pain pill. That don't work. It feel like bee stings.
Oh.
And
it's like down?
Pressure.
Okay.
it feel like little bee stings, but it only lasts about 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And right after that, they give you the results right then and there. My OB, she got the results. And from there, she started referring me to different clinics, which is a reproductive endocrinologist.
Okay.
Specialty doctor. So they did a little bit more than the OB. So that's when I started going to the clinic it's in downtown Charlotte. It's now Atrium Women's Institute, but it used to be Carolina's something institute, but it's Atrium since Atrium brought them out. And from there, that particular RE, first thing she asked me, did I want my tubes removed? And I told her no. If they're blocked, why would I want to take them out? They're just blocked. They're not damaged. Nothing's leaking. Why would I want to take them out? She said, okay, well, we can go through IVF.
Okay.
And that's when I was introduced to IVF.
Now, with IVF, I know that can get pretty expensive. I've just seen like research online and things like that. But before we get into that, I do want to ask, and can you just kind of tell the women that will be viewing what signs to look for when choosing a good OB-GYN? Because I feel like sometimes I've been to some who they don't care.
They don't.
You can tell them all day, this is how I feel, this and that. And if you're not educated enough to know what type of testing you need and demand it, they will just do bare minimum and keep it moving. So I've been there. So can you just kind of share your pointers of what to look for in an OB-GYN?
I looked at first before I found my OB-GYN, I got on Google, of course, read the reviews, and I hadn't seen anything wrong or any bad reviews on my OB-GYN that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, let me just give her a shot. So when I actually met her, for my first time meeting, her whole energy was just comforting, caring.
Mm-hmm.
She actually cared what was going on. She listened to you. She didn't want to say, well, this. You had any questions, she answered them. Her bedside manners are just perfect. She's a sweetheart.
Okay.
She is a sweetheart. And a lot of people, well, not say a lot of people, a lot of women look for black OB-GYNs, and I tell people you can't really say you want a black OB-GYN because you can get bad bedside manners from a black OB-GYN.
That is so true.
You pretty much got to balance it out to see. You'll know the vibe is where you want to be once you get there.
Okay, so back to the RV.
IVF.
Okay, IVF. So, what is that process like? Is it like, let me put down a deposit, or is all this money up front? And I guess, how did your mate at that time feel once he found out you were diagnosed as infertile?
Well, when I started trying in 2001, I was in a 4 relationship, and over the years, we still remain friends. We broke up,
okay.
And sometimes I felt like it was because of me and because of that, but we still remain friends or whatever. So as the years went by, I dated. Still, no baby popped up. Okay, so I literally something just came over me in 2016, really, just like, go and see what's going on. It got to be something else. And being introduced to IVF, I pretty much, well, let me say this, I'm still doing it by myself.
Okay.
There's no mate. I'm doing it by myself.
So all these years when trying to conceive, are you basically looking for a sperm donor?
Well, those years that I was considered single, but even though I was dating someone like on a level you would think it would probably be something longer, something long term.
Okay.
But now, as I look back now, I'm kind of glad nothing went through, because it probably relationship would have went this way. I got a baby,
Right. So how's that conversation with a new mate like, hey, this is my issue, we need to try to get me pregnant, or do you not say anything? Like,
no, I'm raw and uncut. Okay. I tell them up front. I let them know, not being mean, but don't think you're going to get me pregnant, because I let them know it's not going to happen.
Okay.
And a lot of dudes are, well, my sperm is this. I have this many amount of kids. That doesn't mean anything, because I'm still not going to be able to conceive, because sperm cannot get through my fallopian tubes. It's just not happening. They go in there, they're just in there. They have nowhere to go.
would this be something that is like history within your family, or is this a rare case?
I checked my family history. No one in my family dealt with it.
Okay.
They had fibroids, but nobody, I think I'm like the only one that started with actually getting an actual diagnosis. But most of my aunts, they had kids. I had one aunt, she had trouble conceiving and ended up conceiving, but I don't know what her issue was. She told me she dealt with infertility, but I don't know what was like her actual diagnosis. I know I got my actual diagnosis.
Okay. So back to the IVF, how has that process been for you? If you could just kind of briefly walk us through that.
Oh.
And have you actually been inserted?
Okay. With IVF, it's expensive. Like, so far, from 2017 to now, I spent $40,000. Okay, I've got loans. I maxed out my 401k at my last job.
Okay.
I did I did a GoFundMe account. It went all right. And I kind of got, the vibes from, you can't make nobody support you. That's something else that I learned. So in working, I pretty much, it was the insurance that I had back then. They would give you $15,000 lifetime maximum. Mm-hmm. By the time you have like 3 appointments in a procedure, you done maxed out.
Don't you love it?
So what I got now, I gotta go sell my soul to get some more money, because this is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
And I had been in support groups. I've met a lot of different women. I'm still meeting people. And some support groups, we would, if someone was had like leftover medications, mm-hmm. we would pretty much donate it to each other instead of selling it, because the medication alone, like for one little needle, where it's like almost like an EpiPen, that little vial alone, it's almost $900.
Wow.
For one. But being in the group, if they had it, extra, of course you don't take the needles, you have your own needles, but we would donate medicine to each other to help, this is what I'm short of, anybody got, we'll help each other out. Some people would actually sell it because they had to legally pay, but they wouldn't charge you
as much as the full price.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with IVF, you pretty much, you take a lot of medications for almost, I'll say 2 weeks.
Okay.
During that process, you're going to gain weight because you're stimulating your ovaries, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And taking the medication to make your eggs grow. Your eggs are usually 2 to 3 times bigger than what they normally would be. Once they get to a certain size, then they'll do an egg retrieval. The egg retrieval process, it's like 10 minutes. They put you to sleep and they pull the eggs out that's mature and ready.
Okay.
Once the eggs are out, they take the sperm and they put it in a little petri dish. It's about this big. Inject the sperm into the petri dish with the eggs, and it goes through a 5-day process with growing, see if it's going to fertilize. Once, what a lot of people don't realize is once the egg and the sperm fertilize, that's an embryo. It's a full baby. It's just, a lot of people don't get it, That's why when I talk about how many losses I have, I say 6. I have 6 losses, and then I actually fully miscarried my twins.
Okay.
So a lot of people's like, well, it was just the embryo. It was fake.
But this was going through IVF when you had this?
Yeah.
Okay, so although you can go through the IVF process, it's not a guarantee that you're going to have a successful pregnancy. That is just part of the process.
They'll let you, most REs will let you know this is not 100%. Some people get lucky the first time, second time, third time, fourth time. Some people don't get lucky at all. But
what would you say was the cause of the miscarriage, being that you were able to at least know you had twins?
Me, to this day, I don't, even my RE, the doctor that I was going to, there wasn't I didn't have any bad blood work, no infections. It was just, with doing IVF, you're kind of at a higher risk for a miscarriage. So that's something they usually would let you know, you're kind of miscarriage prone,
okay.
It's possible. But some people, they don't have miscarriages. But a lot of women that I've ran across, they've had miscarriages.
So was your last time the one where you experienced the miscarriage, or did you experience a miscarriage and try it again after that with the IVF?
Well, all the trials that I had been with IVF.
Okay.
I've had 2 surgeries to go in and open my tubes, but they always close back.
Okay.
And the thing with that is called a tubal cannulation. It's not a guarantee that both of your tubes stay open. One may open, one may close, or both of them might stay open, but they can't determine when it happened to close. But each time mine closed, that procedure is painful. And each time I had it done, they couldn't put me to sleep because I was getting sick right before. So they kind of numbed me, so to speak. But I felt all of it. It's just,
okay.
It's painful.
So let's speak about life after the miscarriage, because to be pregnant, or just the thought of you being able to conceive, to me is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when I was younger, it's something that I took for granted, because I first got pregnant at the age of 18, and I came from a household where, you got to go off to college. Like, it's kind of a disgrace to even say that around, the family right now with you being so young. And then my father was a pastor, so it definitely wasn't being accepted. So my first pregnancy, I had a miscarriage, got pregnant again. This time I had an abortion because I felt I shamed my family. Went on to college and then proceeded to have several more abortions. So I'm like, okay. So then now that I'm older, I understand what it is to be grown. I don't care what nobody has to say.
Right.
I get pregnant and I'm so excited. We're ready to tell the world. And then I have a miscarriage. So for me, I feel like a person like me takes things for granted when hearing your story, because I feel like I've had so many opportunities to go on with a successful pregnancy, and I decided not to. And now that I want that, I had a miscarriage. So it was like, we found out, I told my parents, he told his people, we're happy, and literally the week later, it's a miscarriage. So, of course, to me, being in the past, I feel like, okay, this is my karma. Like, God kicking my butt from what I did. But nobody talks about how alone you feel and how everyone just kind of shuts you out. It's like, okay, y'all, I had a miscarriage, and people just like, all right. Like, it's like, let's just keep it moving. Nobody stops to say, like, are you okay? Like, is this okay? So, how was that for you? Like, how did you feel after you found out you had a miscarriage? Because for me, I was upset, but I didn't show it. But I just felt like nobody really cares. Yeah. And nobody talks about it. It's like they don't even really want to remember that you were pregnant or that it never happened.
A lot of people, they won't talk about it, or they don't. Some people don't want to hear it. When I had my miscarriage, it was 2 days for my birthday. And that night, once I came home from the hospital, I literally sat up in my bed, just numb to, like, I pretty much checked out. And when I finally was able to go to sleep, I woke up that next morning thinking everything was a dream. And I looked over in the hospital. I left the hospital with a bag and a little hospital gown. That was it.
Did you have to have surgery, or were you able to pass?
I literally gave birth in the bathroom floor. I washed everything.
How far along were you?
7 weeks.
Okay. I was like right at 5 weeks, and I was pregnant. I had the symptoms, and one day I felt fine. So I was like, it's a good day today. Like, I'm cooking, I'm just doing everything. And I had a bad headache, and then I went to sleep in the middle of the night, and it just felt like water or something, like all in the bed. And I get up and I'm just bleeding, and I'm like, I'm bleeding heavy, and it just was like cramps and all of that. But it just passed naturally. I didn't have to do a DNC or anything. It just kind of.
When I went to get, and it was crazy, when I was at the hospital, the whole entire time I kept telling them, it was like, you have to wait. And then I was slow Piedmont down here. That was the experience alone. And the whole time he was like, we need a urine sample. I kept saying, I don't want to give a urine sample. I'm having contractions. My body is contracting and pushing. And when I finally was able to get up to go to the bathroom, that one contraction was when everything, and I literally blacked out. I'm just looking at, standing in the pool of blood, and my babies are side by side. My feet were real small, like taps.
Who was with you during that time? Like, did you have any family or
My
friends to
mom,
support you?
my mom that raised me, she, this right when the pandemic, so you couldn't have business. My mom that raised me, she actually followed the because I had to get transported to Piedmont. She followed them to the hospital, and luckily she stays not even 5 minutes. But my biological mom, she works at the hospital.
Okay.
So my sister called her and told her that I was down in the ER. So my mom kind of clocked out a little bit early. Well, took an early break, and she came down there. And as soon as she hit the door, I said, "Mama, my baby's in the floor. My baby's on the floor." And she couldn't say nothing. And I'm just screaming. I cussed the lab take out. It wasn't her fault. I just cussed her out. I'm ready to go.
And I feel like mentally it really does mess with you, like, because you don't really know how to recover, and you just asking so many questions like, why? Why me? Why did I eat the wrong thing? Did I not take the prenatal vitamin at the right time? Like, what's wrong with me? You know what I'm saying? And I don't want you to get discouraged because of your situation, because I do feel at the end of the day, God makes no mistakes, and I feel like when it's time for me and for you, we will have plenty of children.
Yeah,
but I know when that happens, you definitely have those thoughts of like, God, why did you do this to me? Because I felt like, why did I even get pregnant and do all this for me just to have a miscarriage?
Yeah.
So
and with miscarriages, some people, they consider like the unknown. Because sometimes you just don't know what happened. And a lot of people won't talk about it. And then you got some women that will talk about it. And then the people that won't talk about it, they don't want anyone to say this. After I had mine, I took a shower for 6 weeks in the dark.
Wow.
I was scared. I didn't want to look at myself. I didn't care. I didn't care. I started therapy a couple months later, and that's been about the best thing. Started having anxiety attacks. They come and go now, but it was real bad last year. Real bad.
Did that interfere with the situation or the relationship with you and your mate or partner at that time?
No, he's been supportive, and he won't really talk about it, but he talks about it here and there. But I know he kind of felt down about it. But for as friends, I have real friends, and then I have associates, and I have my support system. It's like a big difference. I've actually had more support from strangers than family. And I tell a lot of people, I can't make my family understand. Some of my family members understand, some of them don't. Some of them probably don't even care. I won't know. They're not going to tell me. But going through everything, I've cussed out a bunch of people. I don't care. I cuss people out.
How is that, like, moving forward? Like, are you ready to try again?
Yeah, I'm actually mentally I'm ready. I think I'm ready physically.
Okay.
Because I'm actually I'm gonna go ahead and claim it. I'm starting in September.
Okay.
I got a new doctor, closer clinic, and the job I got now, they cover my treatments.
Okay, well that's great.
And they also cover storage for the sperm.
Oh wow.
I ain't never had that type of thing.
So are you okay with having for example, when you go through the IVF and you do get pregnant and have your babies, who is the baby's father? Like,
I got donors.
Okay, so when you have the child, do you tell them this is your father? Like, do you keep in contact with the sperm?
You can if you want to. Well, it's like once you make the purchase, towards the end, some donors have it set up to they don't want any contact. Some donors want it to where you can I think they get an email or alert, and it just says successful pregnancy. And then you can sign a consent. They can reach out to you, but it's up to you.
Okay.
And it's kind of up to them if they want to be notified. But me personally, I wouldn't care. I just want my baby.
Right. You did your part. Although, you don't have a significant other with IVF, do you plan on having someone in their life to be a father figure?
Yeah, I already got my godparents picked for my kids. And when it's time to explain to them, I saved everything. Like, I still have all my needles. So they're going to know how they came about.
Wow.
And I have, last count, it's like 4,000 needles.
Okay.
And that's from 2017 to last year.
I can't wait from a year from now when I come back and follow up.
Yeah, I'll
with you
probably
with
have some running around and
Yes, I'm
yelling, sit down right now.
Now I do have to ask because as we talked about with IVF, you kind of know if you're having a boy or girl. You kind of know if they're gonna be, like disabled or have any type of disorders or anything. If that were to happen, are you still planning to move forward with a successful pregnancy, or is that something?
Oh, I'll move forward with it. If you can get genetic testing done. It costs like once you make your embryos, they send them off for testing, which is genetic testing. Me, I've never got them tested because I feel like it's bothering them. They poke and they got to run little labs. I just think it kind of makes them, downgrade a little bit because you poking at them to see what they got any abnormals, boy or girl. I don't care what the sex of the baby is, but I don't like getting the testing done. A lot of women live by it. I don't want it done to mine. Leave them alone.
What advice would you give for another lady who's struggling or that's in your shoes right now?
Oh, my main advice: don't be scared to talk about it. It's nothing to be. Especially with being a black woman, a lot of black women won't talk about it. You have some that will, then some just. I speak to a lot of people that to this day they won't come out, but I know, and when I talk about it on my blogging page, I don't never say any names unless they give me permission to say, I talked to Alexis and this is what she's going through. But definitely open up and talk about it. Fine, it's support groups. You might have to filter yourself out of some of them because some of them can get you like, no, y'all really talking like this. We need support. I was in a big support group a couple years back, and I actually just removed myself because I had a disagreement with one of the members, and it was a mixed group, black, white, Asians, a little bit of all races. But after I went through my first stage of depression, once I came out of it, that's when I just started talking. Talking. I don't stop talking soon. And a lot of people scared to talk to me, and y'all can talk to me. I talk your head off about it.
And can you just give the viewers some tips on how to deal with depression when going through something like that? How do you stay up? How do you stay positive? How do you stay upbeat?
I think what really keeps me from setting back is that I'm able to open up and talk about it, and I'm able to keep going. I've taken breaks, but I never gave up. Some people after a couple cycles fails, they just check out. Not me. I'm just ready to go start back. I don't mind taking it. And I tell a lot of women, if you're doing this, take a break. You're gonna need it.
Have adoption ever been a thought?
That's the last
resort.
Adoption is expensive.
Okay.
I was adopted.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I was adopted. Adoption is expensive.
Okay.
Like real expensive. People like, well, such and such may have a baby. She don't want it. Me personally, I'm taking it to court. I'm doing it the legal way. And it's expensive.
Okay.
It's expensive.
Well, this interview has been great, and I just want to thank you for allowing me the chance in, and then also for giving me a chance to open up because with my situations, because I never really spoke on that either. And I just wish you much success.
Thank you.
And happiness and blessings, and everything is going to work out.
We're going to get our babies.
Yes, we are. We are.
Same time.
But before we end this interview, can you just kind of let the viewers know how they can find you on social medias or your blog or anything? Because I know it's a lot of women who are going to want to tune in or follow you.
Okay. On Facebook, I'm on Facebook. My regular page is Shaquana Scruggs. My blogging page is called My Journey Continues. And also on Instagram is my Journey Continues 7, but all of them will link you to me. You'll have access. And feel free to inbox me because I will talk to whoever.
Yes. Well, it's been real, raw, and uncut.
Thank you.
Until next time, let's talk some more.